meeting is being recorded.
Go ahead, Rosie.
Oh God, I just got to get the got it off of here. Okay, well, welcome everyone. Happy New Year to you. I hope you're doing well. And we're very, very happy that we have Daniel Koroma and Natalie Fani Gonzales, who are running for county council in different districts, not against each other. So we should have very, very interesting conversation from them. And so let us begin with Daniel Koroma. Welcome, Daniel.
Thank you, Rosie, and welcome and good evening to everyone. I am so delighted for the invitation. My name is Daniel Koroma. As Rosie said, I'm running for Montgomery County District 5. The new District 5 starts from Four Corners, and then it goes University Boulevard all the way to the Prince George's County line, and then it takes 29 going towards Howard County, and it touches the Howard County line, and then it also takes 198, which is Spencerville Road, and then it turns into Norbeck Road, and it does include Leisure World. So you have places like Colesville, Briggs Cheney, Fairland, Hillandale, White Oak, and that's where I live, and that's where I've done most of my work. So I'm running because I'm clear-eyed in terms of the inequities that exist, because I've lived in Montgomery County. Not only that, I'm a husband and a father to 2 MCPS kids. My son graduated 2 years ago. My daughter is actually graduating this year from Blake. So I know exactly the issues that have affected all of us, but most specifically this district. That's why I volunteered for 3 years in the county executive legates administration to build a bigger policy table. And in my time of volunteering, I started the Gilchrist Center in the East County. That's in 2009, because there was a need for us to get people who were losing their jobs to develop a resume. And while we're helping them develop their resume, we decided to give them additional skills. So in Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. And as a result of that program, Montgomery College came to the East County in 2013, and thousands of county residents have benefited from that program. I volunteered in the Obama campaign during 2012, and I saw the inequities that existed when it came to early voting. In fact, they tried to take away the only early voting site we had in the East County. And I worked with both the local board of election, the state board of election, all our elected officials. And finally, last year, the state legislators were able to pass a bill. And this coming election this year, we will have an early voting site in White Oak, which will enfranchise many of my neighbors, including myself. And then for the last 2 years, lastly, I've seen the inequities when it comes to economic, but also community development as well. Many of our minority businesses have really struggled. So I've been in the forefront helping nonprofits and for-profit businesses get access to the grant. The county has given out over $40 million, and part of my job is to make sure that we reach out to nonprofits and minority businesses. So I'm asking for your support, for your help, because what is at stake is the fact that we are still in the pandemic, and those who have been impacted the most, we should have someone with experience. And that's what I told the Washington Post, somebody who have done the work as a grassroots organizer, but also an advocate who can be in a position so that when we are talking about policies, I know the things working with the community that we need in place in the East County, which has been neglected for many times. So I'm going to be quiet and then turn it back to Rosie. But thank you so much. Again, I ask for your support and thank you for this opportunity.
Oh, first I forgot to tell you that Sandy Robinson kindly agreed to put the campaign donation information for both Natalie and Daniel in the chat. So you can find that information there. But Daniel, I'd like you to tell us about your background. I think about how you got here, because that was a very interesting story.
Very interesting, because I used to say only in America is my story possible, but I changed it, Rosie. Now I say only in Montgomery County is my story possible. I was born in Sierra Leone, West Africa, small country, but not even at the capital, like 330 miles away from the capital. And it's just been a privilege. My parents brought me here. My dad worked for the IMF. My mom worked for the World Bank. My mom actually retired not too long ago. One of the meet and greets I had at Leisure World, one of my mom's colleagues attended. Yes. It was such a humble experience. But I came back after, my dad, we went back for their work. I came back and I went to the University of Maryland, where I graduated with my master's degree in engineering. And then while I was setting up the Gilchrist Center in the East County, it was actually a good friend who encouraged me to apply to Harvard Kennedy School. I was like, there's no way they would accept me. Come on, I don't have the money to pay. But I applied and they accepted me and they gave me scholarship. And so I also graduated from the Harvard Kennedy School, their executive leadership program. So that's a little bit about my both biological background, but also my educational background.
But you've also been active in the Democratic Party, in very active in the Democratic Party in Montgomery County.
That is correct. So I'm the most recent treasurer for the Democratic Party. I'm still on the Democratic Central Committee, and I actually represent part of this new District 5. So I represent District 20 on the Montgomery County Democratic Central Committee. Rosie and I and many of you, we worked on the ballot initiative where Robert Ficker wanted to hamstring the county so that we could not go forward. But thanks to all of you, we were able to defeat Robert Ficker. So I was a treasurer for that ballot initiative. So thank you for reminding me of that.
Yes, and the other thing I wanted you to talk about, how you helped to set up the little business that's in Leisure World Plaza that some of us enjoyed.
Yes, again, let's just say, I used to say only in America. Again, only in Montgomery County are these stories possible, right? My story, your story, and all of our stories possible. The lady, basically, she had tried many things as a woman entrepreneur. So put it this way, I mean, all of you are not strangers to this data, that minorities have challenges when it comes to access to capital, when it comes to access to information. And Aisha was not an exception. Well, first, she's a minority because she is Black, but she's also a minority because she's a woman. And so because of that, she came to me and said, hey, Daniel, you're the last hope that I have. I'm like, no, don't say that. I'll do everything I can to help you. Long story short, she told me everything she has. She gave me her business plan and I worked on it a little bit, but I said, okay, let's do this. I said, let me search. She's like, no, I want you to come and see what I'm talking about. So she took me to her apartment, and in her kitchen sink, that's where she was making her product. But I was so inspired by her motivation, and it motivated me to say, you know what, I have to do, and this is what I do for every business that I work with, no matter if they're a minority business or non-minority businesses. So long story short, I connected her to one of my business resource partners, and then all of a sudden, this was like I think it was February, and in March, COVID hit. And when COVID hit, she used to manufacture soap. Well, as all of you know, the supply chain system for hand sanitizer basically dried up. And so I was like, oh my goodness, we got to go to Aisha. So I got the Economic Development Corporation to contact her, and the rest is history. She started manufacturing hand sanitizers and soap for companies locally. But then all of a sudden, she needed capacity. When storefronts were closing, she decided intentionally to go to Leisure World because she wanted to serve residents of Leisure World. And she has a 6,000 square foot storefront. But guess what happened, Rosie? The good news is now, the other storefront that's next to her that has been vacant, she actually just listed right now. So she's she's going to like 15,000 square foot.
Fabulous.
And guess what? She went from only herself, and now she's hired 15 employees in Montgomery County.
That's wonderful. Wonderful story. Okay, and I think we'd like to ask you some questions. I'll begin with what would you do about the inequality of the education in Montgomery County? That's a good question. Up and down.
Yeah, so it's a historic inequities that we need to be more intentional about. It's not only about in terms of the curriculum development and things that we need to make sure we do when our kids are in school. And let me just be clear, as a father, as I say, my son graduated 2 years ago. My daughter is currently in MCPS. I just feel like we need to do better. We need to do better when it comes to the way we are working with teachers. We the parents are working with the school system to ensure that we're able to protect our kids. But Rosie, there are things that actually we need to surround many of our children with, especially between the hours of 2 p.m. and 5 p.m. when parents or adults are not home. So my proposal would be, how do we make sure we enhance the wraparound services that will provide not only extra curriculum activities, but also that would do not only homework help, but also bring in some entrepreneurship as well. Financial literacy should be part of the curriculum in MCPS, so that our young people not only would know how to start a business, right, but also would know how to manage their finances as well. So I believe that we need to continue to strengthen MCPS to be the school system that have benefited all of us. But more importantly, we need to now make sure that the after school programs from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. is able to come around and help many of our minority, especially Black and Brown students within MCPS.
And the other question I had is that there is a neglect of the East County. What would you do to remedy that? That's probably a toughie.
No, you're right. No, you're absolutely right. So for 40 years, for 4 decades, there haven't been any development in East County. As a council member, first of all, I because of all of our advocacy, that's why the redistricting commission did what they did. They laid out the proposition well, and also ensure that people who really care about racial equity and social justice will put attention into the East County. So East County now, it's a majority plurality African-American district. It's historic. That's the first time it would ever been there. As a council member that would represent this district, I would ensure that the county, keep good to its promise, which is, hey, we want equity everywhere in the county. Well, guess what? This is a place where we've lacked development in 40 years. This is a place where we have not only low income, right? But if you take the free and reduced meals that are served in school systems, many of the schools are in the East County. Absolutely. If you take the COVID infection rate, many of those areas, those zip codes are in the East County. If you look at the COVID death in Montgomery County, many of these areas are in the East County. So we cannot just talk about racial equity and social justice. We need to make an investment in that. That's what I would fight for, to make sure that the county make the proper investment that will bring development, but that development should never displace our long-term residents in the East County, but also it will bring in the revenues we need to take care of our neighbors who are in need.
Okay, is anyone else have questions? I'm sure you do.
Yeah, I have a question. Daniel, all these activities you're a part of in this is a district you're talking about?
That is correct, yes. The new District 5, which again will be from Four Corners going all the way to Buttonsville, including Leisure World.
Where is your actual, shall we say, your desk? If I was to call you up, where would I call you? Where would you be?
So I will be in the community. Listen, this is my 16th year in government. I don't like Rockville. Let me be honest with you. I want to make sure I'm in the community. So my office, I'm committing to you, and I've committed to everybody that I will have a district office so that my constituents will have access to me.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Good idea.
Okay, anyone else? I wanted to ask you about, then if no one's going to ask you anything, what do you think about police reform?
And I've got a question, Rosie.
Okay, sorry, go ahead.
But answer the police reform question first, Daniel.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we do need police reform. We do, listen, there are biases that exist. No one can dispute that. We've had police killings in our neighborhoods, right? So we know that we're not exempted when it comes to the racial biases that exist when it comes to policing. But I also believe in police and community relations. Like, we need to ensure that public safety becomes number one, right? I mean, I would like to improve in terms of, public the public policy that involves policing, but also engaging the community as well, so that we're not afraid to engage with the police, especially when we know that we could be helpful to solve violent crimes and hold people accountable that that are not doing right in our communities. So I believe that we need to ensure that there's a balance in this, whereby we hold the police accountable, but also let's work with the police to hold others accountable that are not, that are disrupting our community. So that's where I stand when it comes to community policing.
Great.
Hey,
Right,
Daniel. Hey, Daniel, nice to see you.
Good to see
Should
you,
just
Alan.
disclose that Daniel and I both sit on the board of Safe Silver Spring, where he's been an active participant for the last few years. Daniel, one of the questions we asked our candidates is what would be your priorities as a member of the county council, first, second, and third, and if you had a choice, which of the county council committees would you like to serve on?
Bravo, thank you.
Absolutely. So my priorities definitely will be education. We need to make sure our school systems are serving our kids right. So education is one, but also making sure that we put in the resources that we need, as I say, for not only preparing our kids for college, but also for career. So as I said, what I started in the East County, the Gilchrist Center, right now is what is housing Montgomery College. I would definitely want to make sure that we scale that up, because Montgomery College and University of Shady Grove could train the workforce for the future, right? So education is one. But business and community development is my second priority. We need to ensure that we're helping businesses. Listen, many businesses have closed because of COVID. We need to make sure we help those businesses that are still around and they're surviving. I call it garden economics, right? We cannot start to talk about other new businesses and then neglect the businesses that are currently in place. Let's do that garden economics to keep the businesses that are in place, and then create opportunities for other businesses to start and grow here in Montgomery County. So those are the two priorities. Definitely, I mean, transportation and the environment are big, and obviously health is also big because we're still in the pandemic. And in terms of the committee, the planning, housing, and economic development will be one that definitely fits my not only my educational background, but my experience, my policy experience, and my policy accomplishments as well.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Daniel, I have a question. Craig Carter, thank you for supporting us in this new district that I happen to be a resident in for about 39 years, having served as a PTA president and actively involved in our community. I'm concerned about the Burtonsville Shopping Center, the lack of development and businesses that have not been able to populate where the former Giant is. And, we started to see a tech center and the new hospital come in, but there has been no additional small business support or development. What do you?
Craig, I completely agree with you. It's wrong. It's wrong that it's been 10 years they haven't resolved Burtonsville Crossing. It's been over. I mean, listen, I started volunteering in 2008, right? And Burtonsville Crossing was a conversation in 2008. Listen, I don't mind suing the responsible party. Let's take them to court if they don't want to let go for us to develop that area. So I'm being very clear. Let me be unequivocal. Whatever it's going to take for us to develop the East County, that's the reason why, as I say, I'm clear-eyed when it comes to what we need to do. And Burtonsville is definitely an area that I know has been neglected in the East County. And I am determined to make sure, again, we resolve it peacefully. But if peace does not work, right, we need to make sure we do all we can to not hold the businesses, and the community at ransom.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Ms. Sandra.
When you talk about resolving an issue such as the Burtonsville and the shopping center, what would be your strategy? How would you handle that?
Well, Sandra, in my experience, it's always been, communication. We need to have a dialogue, but also be clear-eyed in terms of what we're trying to achieve. In this situation, Sandra, I know it firsthand because, as I say, I've been part of this conversation, some part of the conversation around, letting go of a lease or allowing competitors coming in. We need to be clear-eyed in terms of to say we cannot allow just one business to hold the entire community, behind. So my strategy will be engaging with the relevant parties, but also bring the community as well. Because what is our vision for Burtonsville? What is our vision for East County? What is our vision for Leisure World? What's our vision for the District 5? That community conversation is going to help us shape. Because at the end of the day, these businesses, it's about a return on investment. It's about their bottom line, right? If we can ensure that, listen, what we want, if it comes, then guess what? It will be profitable to this business. Then there's no other proposition for them to hold us back. Then if they hold us back, then that means that we have to take other measures as well.
Okay.
I see we have two questions, one from Marilyn Pierre and then Dio. So Marilyn?
Oh, thank you very much, Alan, and thank you, Daniel. A wonderful presentation. I have a question about transportation since you are interested in transportation. I live on the west side of the county, so the tolls on that are proposed on 495 and 270 are extremely important for my neighbors and I. And I know that's a state road, state issues, so you can't really do anything about that. But I rode. Well, I'm asking about transportation because I rode on the Flash last month and I really, really loved it. And I was wondering how come we don't have anything like the Flash on the west side of the county, because hopefully that will get a lot of people out of their cars. I love public transportation. I grew up in New York and took public transportation and it was really nice and convenient. But from where I live, to take public transportation would take so long that it's just not feasible for most people.
No,
So,
Marilyn, again, good to see you, my friend. I agree with you that we need to make sure we have a comprehensive transportation network, right? So the same issue you're talking about in the Up County, those are the same issues. Like we have all these nodes, right, of economic activities in the East County, but they're not interconnected. For you to leave the Burtonsville Shopping Center and go to Colesville Shopping Center, you have to take 2 buses. For you to take for you to leave Leisure World to go to Burtonsville, you need to take about 3 buses, right? So we don't have a comprehensive transportation network. Absolutely, that's something I would like to build. First of all, I want us to have a 15-minute walk communities, right? Where people will be able where people will be able to leave, shop, and play, have fun, raise their family within a 15-minute walk, right? And that's why I love Leisure World, because Leisure World is the ideal place for everyone. Leisure World is the template for the District 5. Like every neighborhood in District 5 needs to be Leisure World, right? So that's really the model. The model is that we need to interconnect these nodes that we have through a comprehensive transportation strategy, but also make sure that we, again, grow the economy because we need to support our neighbors in need, but ensure that when we're developing, we're not displacing people who live in the community as well.
I think Dio is next.
Thank you, Daniel, for giving us such a wonderful presentation, and I look forward to your ascendancy to the council. I was just wondering, you mentioned that your first priority would be education, and you talk about equity. What would equity, besides funding, what would equity in our school system look like? One of the reasons I'm concerned is because, I spoke before when the county was considering adopting the social equity and the equity and racial justice initiative. I testified because I'm quite concerned that there are about now 6 schools that are named after people who owned slaves. And what does that do to our young people who attend these schools. And of course, they probably don't know because there's nothing in our curriculum that addresses the founding of this country, you know, the Civil War, and much of the history that our young people need to know. And I'm very concerned that not just for young Black students, but for young, any student, that they are attending a school that glorifies people who owned other people. So I was asking you that question to see what your other, your feelings are about racial equity and social justice in our education system in Montgomery County.
No, Dayo, I completely agree with you. I mean, we need to make sure we review all those the policies around naming the schools, but also even those schools that are already named. We have a wealth of amazing patriots here in Montgomery County that we can name schools after. I mean, I can think of many on the top of my head. So I totally agree with you that I would work with the school board. I would also work, you know, with the school system to ensure that, you know, we implement that. However, I think there are also places, you'll be surprised, that have no name here in Montgomery County. I remember, Rosie, a long time ago, right? There was a park that they were looking to,
yes.
got petition.
That's with Betsy Katiti. Yes, that's right. For Nelson Mandela.
Listen,
We'd still like that.
I would work with the Parks Department, and I hope Natalie is hearing me, that we're gonna have a Nelson Mandela Park in Montgomery
That'd
County.
be just delightful, yeah. And we're going to have to wrap up because it's Natalie's turn in about another minute. But thank you, Daniel. That was a wonderful presentation. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Dan.
I think, Natalie, it's your turn to be on. And I think that Daniel does have a couple of us that live in Leisure World, but a lot of your people that are on this call are, and also the Carters, but are also in your district. So, Natalie,
right.
Can you begin? And tell us about your district, okay? And about yourself.
Okay, thank you so much for inviting me. Again, my name is Natalie Fani Gonzales, and I live in Wheaton with my husband and our 2 children. I'm running for county council because I want to serve my community. This is a place that welcomed me when I came from Latin America, and it's the place I call home. Just to go back and tell you, Wheaton, so you know, District 6, that's the number for our district, is basically Forest Glen, Wheaton, Aspen Hill, Glenmont. That's pretty much the area. I wanted to have Leisure World, but now Leisure World is not in my district just because my mom used to work there. But anyway, it's a very diverse community, and I've been living in this district for over 20 years now, first in Aspen Hill and now in Wheaton. So I know it very well. So for background, I came to the United States when I was 16 years old with my mother. I did not speak English. I was an ESOL student, undocumented. So the typical immigrant kid that you see in our public schools, okay? I lived in the Lone Branch, Langley Park area with my mom, and we struggled at first. So I remember that during the day I was going to school, and in the afternoons, I had to take 2 buses to clean houses with my mom. So we'll ride the bus from Langley Park all the way to Chevy Chase. And those were my weekends. And I remember thinking, you know, it's only like 10 miles away, but it would take us over 2 hours to get there each way. And at that time, there was talk about the Purple Line. So I remember going to one of the Purple Line meetings in the Langley Park Community Center and hearing about this massive infrastructure that was coming to the neighborhood. And my first thought was, okay, that's great. We'll get to Chevy Chase really quick. But then again, I want to make sure that we don't get displaced, because then that's not going to work out. So the whole thing about land use fascinated me. So long story short, I was very good at math. I mean, I love numbers. Numbers don't lie. So because of my math skills, I was able to attend college and get, you know, a full ride scholarship there. My English was not very good looking, so my math was really important. So I went to Goucher College, and then after college, CASA, the Latino and Immigrant Rights nonprofit, they hired me as their advocacy specialist. So I became the lobbyist for the Maryland Dream Act, which is the legislation that allowed undocumented students to pay in-state tuition. So that was how I began working in politics and advocacy. So I've been very involved in local and statewide issues. And then at one point in 2014, there was an opening in the Park and Planning Commission. And back then, George Leventhal was a council member. He called me up and said, Natalie, there's an opening there. There has never been a millennial or a Latina or Latino in park and planning. You should apply. And I said, you know what? Yeah, let's just go for it. So I applied and I got full support by everyone on the county council, Mark Elrich, Nancy Navarro. And it has been a life-changing experience, just learning about the county in a totally different way and working on master plans and economic development. It has been very meaningful to me, and I had taken the position very seriously. I have been probably the strongest environmentalist in parking planning ever. And I have been always making sure that all the master plans that we've been working on uplift communities instead of displacing them. And I have a strong track record on that. And also one of the things that I did once I joined park and planning, I noticed that it was always the same people coming in front of park and planning to testify. I wasn't seeing people that look like me or people with young children like mine. My children are in 3rd and 4th grade. And I took issue with that. This is a county with over 1 million people, right? So I talked to the planning director and I said, you know what, we need to start going to the communities. You cannot expect people to come to our auditorium to testify. It's not okay. So just to give you one example, for the Veers Mill Corridor Master Plan, which is the area between Wheaton and Rockville, it's part of my district. I took a planner and a videographer and I went and I rode the buses and interviewed people in Spanish. I walked the streets and went to the Korean corner, which is that famous market over there, and interview people about how they want to see their communities, what are their challenges, what things would you like to see happening here. So we took all that data, and for those interviews in Spanish, we translated that so it could have been on the public record, and so on. And that's how you empower people when they feel that they are connected to your local government and that they feel that they're being heard. And I have also a track record that I speak, I'm not afraid to speak up. One of the first issues that came in front of park and planning was if you may remember this, Costco has this proposal to create a mega gas station in Wheaton. This was a few years ago. And when they came to park and planning, I was the only planning board member who said no to them. If we're really serious about the environmental justice and public health, we cannot let this mega gas station come in, especially in a neighborhood where we're saying that it's an urban district, right? We're promoting people to walk and bike and have safe streets. Bringing a use that will bring thousands of cars to our neighborhoods is not the answer. And that's just one of many examples where I took charge to make sure that we were doing the right thing. I was reappointed to the Park and Planning Commission in 2018. And again, with full support and kind words by council members. And then with Mark Elrich, who's the county executive, was elected as county executive. He placed me in his transition committee for the affordable housing unit that he had, and which, to me, that was an honor. And what else can I tell you? I would love to answer any questions because I can go really fast here.
Okay, well, I think that we'd like to hear what your thoughts are about this public education now that your children are in the public education system.
And that issue, especially with when my kids, when 2020, in March of 2020, all schools went virtual. I think I noticed more than ever the struggles and the deep pockets of poverty that we have in our communities. Many kids refuse to turn on the screens so people wouldn't see that they have so many people living in their homes. I had parents who, kids that were in the same class as my children, who didn't speak English, so I had to help them and teach them how to get connected to the class from home. Kids who didn't have high-speed internet in their homes, right? This is Montgomery County. We go, and we love to say that we are a wealthy county, but guess what? We have packets of poverty, kids without internet access in their home. How do you expect them to learn? So, and I see how kids have had this huge gap of learning loss going on. So now more than ever, I think we need an amazing amount of investment on schools, on education. And I'm talking starting on early childhood education all the way to high schools, to make sure, and even colleges, to make sure kids are ready. Kids are far behind, especially if you look at the math scores, they're not where they're supposed to be. And teachers are struggling too. I went to an event with the Montgomery County Teachers Union on Friday, and we were able to talk to different teachers throughout the county. And I saw how they're overworked and underpaid. And if we're a county or a country that loves to talk about education and our values, to take about, in our values, then we need to reflect that in the pay that we're giving to our teachers, So the struggle is real, and I'm committed that once I get elected to the Montgomery County Council, although I'm not on the school board, the county council has a lot of power. I mean, they give the funds to the school board to make sure that they're using the money the right way, and that we're giving the support they need to ensure kids have before and after care programs that will help them catch up with their math and reading, because they are at least a year behind. And the communities that are suffering are mostly Black and brown kids. I'm also a member of the Black and Brown Coalition. It's a coalition of parents throughout the county, pushing the county to ensure that there is actual equity and resources and data. Again, I'm a numbers person. Give me the data to see if we're really truly moving forward with our kids. So.
Then I also, what is your opinion about the police reform?
Definitely. I mean, my kids are brown. My husband is Afro-Latino. Let me just share this very quickly. A few years ago in 2014, I ran for state delegate in District 18. There was no open seat after a file, so I knew I was going to lose, but I still ran. And so District 18 includes Chevy Chase and Wheaton. So my husband was with my campaign shirt. Back then I had a pink was my color. He was canvassing for me, walking, going door to door, and Chevy Chase police stopped him and questioned him. Why was he in that neighborhood? And it was probably one of the most horrific experiences that we have ever seen. And it happened here in Montgomery County only a few years ago. Okay. So yes, police reform is needed, especially when we know they're targeting our Black and brown kids. My kids could be targeted next. My kid, Luca, he's 8. He'll soon be a teenager. I'm worried about him. So it's an issue that is personal to me. So.
And then the other thing, how about transportation?
Oh man, that's my issue, Rosie. I'm a geek with that. Pedestrian and safety. I worked on the Montgomery County Bicycle Master Plan, the pedestrian master plan that hasn't been approved yet, but I did a lot of work on that. The Mark Rail Master Plan. I'm a huge advocate for public transit. I'm against Governor Hogan's widening of the Beltway.
Thank you.
When I was in parking planning, I was one of the strongest advocates against him. And it's an issue that I, deeply care about. And again, going back to my experience, living in the Long Branch Langley Park neighborhood and taking buses to Chevy Chase, how horrible it was. The people who suffer the most are low-income communities who do take transit, So and it's not an opinion against cars. If you want to drive, fine, drive, but that doesn't mean that we shouldn't have options for people who are more, who are inclined to take transit more, okay? And we also need to redesign our streets. A lot of people have been killed in places like Georgia Avenue and Aspen Hill and Wheaton. through our county because streets were designed for cars to drive fast instead of understanding that we have people in communities living there and people want to walk, you know, and there's data, again, with the numbers, there's data that shows that in neighborhoods where it's safer for people to walk and bike, businesses do better. You know, I walk to the H Mart on Georgia Avenue all the time. And I don't feel safe because I gotta walk on Georgia. But if I had a buffer between Georgia Avenue and the sidewalk, it will be much better. I'll probably be there more often, you know, and that's just one example.
And what would you do to help the businesses in the area?
Well, economic opportunities, it's something that I'm passionate about, and I want to work on it more. There are a lot of vacancies going on in places like Aspen Hill and Wheaton, but that doesn't mean that we don't have the people with the skills to take over those stores, you know, and sell their businesses. So making sure that we train our community and we teach them how to sell their products is key. Just like Daniel was saying earlier today, the talent is there. We just need to make sure that we actually use them and we prioritize businesses in Montgomery County. It's not okay that we have agencies in the county buying products from DC, Virginia, and other places when the priority should be here in local, so the money can stay here in Montgomery County. So economic opportunity is something that I embrace and that I want to work on, especially during this pandemic. I serve on the board of Creighton of Greater Washington. It's a nonprofit that works with teen girls who are Black and brown in Montgomery County. And our teen girls are in trouble, like suicidal too. Like if you look at the data of all the girls who are teenagers who are taking more responsibilities at home because now they also have to work and take care of their little siblings because their parents are not making enough money. So it all connects. So yes, I'm committed to work on that.
And I want to know if anyone else wants to ask some questions. Perhaps Alan, you could ask the same question you asked before.
Hey, Natalie, it's great to see you.
Yeah.
The question that we asked candidates are, what are your top 3 priorities and what county council committee would you like to serve on if you're elected to the county council?
So definitely transportation and also pedestrian safety is one issue that I've been working on for many years now, and I would like to continue because it's urgent. I've been knocking on doors. I have knocked on over 4,000 doors in my district by myself since May, and it's one of the top issues that people are saying, not feeling safe to cross the street. I live by the Wheaton Library, so for folks who live across Georgia Avenue, crossing Georgia Avenue is a big no-no. So they have to drive, even though they live like, a few minutes away, they drive to the library because they're afraid to walk there. That's how bad it is. And our communities, low-income communities who walk to the bus stop, they're the ones suffering the most and getting killed. Okay, it's that bad. So that's one. Economic opportunity to make sure, and that's connected to education, making sure parents have enough money to put food on the table and to make ends meet, and ensuring that our kids have the education they need because they're the future workforce. Those are issues that I care about. As the former vice chair of the Montgomery County Planning Board in parking planning, definitely the Fed community is top one, is the number one. There's no one running for the county council that has my skills on zoning and land use. So not being in the Fed committee is not a good service for the entire county. Let me just tell you that. So that's number one. And number two, just because of my passion on education and the fact that I have young kids in schools, I think the Education Cultural Committee will be a good match for me. So those two.
Thank you, Natalie. I see that Derek Neighbors has got a question.
And Herrick too. I saw his in too.
Yes, good evening, Natalie. And thank you, Alan, for hosting this forum. You express your interest or your transportation is one of your top priorities. I have twofold question. One, the completion and acceleration of the Purple Line. And two, as you see, I work for Metro.
Yeah.
You're going to put someone on the planning board for Metro from Montgomery County.
Putting somebody from Metro on the planning board?
No, putting a representative from Montgomery County to represent Metro on the Metro board. At this point, we don't have anyone representing Metro.
Oh, that's wrong. Oh, I'm with you 100%. The Purple Line, look, I'm a huge advocate for the Purple Line since the very beginning. And my advocacy included to ensure that communities wouldn't get displaced in neighborhoods where the Purple Line is going through, as well as making sure that the local businesses will have the support they needed. Again, if we have this major investment, which I support, but yet with displaced communities, we're not doing our job. So, but yes, the Purple Line is huge. And from day one, since I was in high school, let me tell you, I've been a supporter. So that's one. And two, yes, I also agree that Montgomery County needs representation, somebody from Metro, and as a big advocate for public transportation, including Metro, I will agree with you, and you have my commitment to work on that.
Okay, and if I can make one more comment, the Purple Line, the destruction of Wayne Avenue,
Yes.
the big oak trees, and now the residents there are faced with all this heavy equipment, the noise, the congestion right there on Wayne Avenue. And I've been a member of St. Michael's Church for over 30 years. And now we have to walk over that uneven, soft pavement, which we have a lot of seniors that attend St. Michael's Church and may not be able to navigate it just as myself.
Yeah, I can tell you one thing. I, along with so many other folks, have been contacting the council member from that district to ensure that that wouldn't happen, or that there's safe places for people to walk while the construction is happening. And with equipment, I'm just gonna give you one example of things that I have done. So it's not me telling you things that I wanna do, but just telling you that I have a track record. When I was doing a tour of Long Branch 3 years ago, and there with Park Police, there were situations going on in certain areas of Long Branch involving our parks. So they asked me to go with them to tour the area so I could help them talk to some of the neighbors in that community. And when I arrived, I saw that WSSC, the Water and Sewer Agency, had a whole bunch of equipment on one of the parks in Long Branch. You will not see that happening in the west side of this county, okay? Like somebody will complain. But it was like all over our parks, and it was a place where the school bus will stop in the morning to pick up kids for almost a year. I live in Wheaton. I just had never like really visited that part of the county. And when I saw that, I was so mad that I contacted different board members of WSSC. I contacted the executive's office, and when I saw that within a day, I didn't hear any response, I called again WSSC and I threatened them. And I said, if you don't fix and take this away, these things right away, I'm gonna call the Washington Post and everybody that you can imagine. And I'm gonna say that you're being racist, okay? Because you wouldn't do this in anywhere else. And I'm telling you, within like a few days, all the equipment was gone. I'm just telling you one example, so you know that I walk the talk, okay? I don't, when I'm telling you, you know, I wanna do my best to make sure there's gonna be safe places for people to walk when there's a major construction like the Purple Line. I mean it, okay? I'm the type of person that goes out to the community and work with people and see things so I can make sound decisions. I'm not the type of person who sits behind the desk. Something bad about me though is that I don't talk about what the things that I do. Like since the pandemic started, I've been volunteering a lot in different places, translating for people to get vaccinated and tested and so on. You will not see a single photo of me at a food center or a food distribution center or a vaccine clinic, telling people how wonderful I am. I don't do that stuff. Yet the other day I got a proclamation by Governor Hogan thanking me for all my service the past 2 years, for all this volunteer work, which amazed me because I've been going after him for the widening of the Beltway proposition that he had. So when he sent me that, I was like, man, I mean, that's great. But so I felt like I needed to share that with you so you understand that I honestly, I want to do the best to uplift my community and to serve you. That's why I'm running. That's simple. Henry, can you have you're welcome.
Thank you for that. And thank you for your service. I look forward to working with you.
Thank you so much.
So thank you, Natalie.
Thank you. I see a hand raised. Henrik, you have something? Yeah.
Well, Natalie, I believe you came to my house and you visited.
Was I good?
You visited with my wife and you said, well, I don't know where I'm running, but I figured I'd just make sure I'm here. I thought that was very energetic and optimistic. It's good to see Derek Neighbors. Is that your name, sir?
Yes.
Yes, this is the progressive legacy, and our good friend Alan has been able to put it together for us. We've been very fortunate. And we have this once a month, so please come back. Definitely like to hear more of what you're doing. But the thing is, more so than anything is, we've had people who, because of their association or who they affiliate with, run for office, and then when they get into office, unfortunately, they don't quite follow through with all the promises that they have done. You strike me as someone who is very forthcoming, and I'm glad to hear that you don't like Hogan as much as we do. You got my vote. Thank you.
Thank you.
Craig and Gail, you have a question?
Well, first I want to say I appreciate you as being a grassroots actively involved in the community, being of Montgomery County and for Montgomery County. So please continue on that effort. When you spoke about transportation, I noticed how on the western side or in Chevy Chase area, they have flashing signs for crossing the street. I don't see any of that on the east side of the county.
There is one on Belpre Road now.
That's one doesn't.
Which I
help.
worked on. By the
One
way,
doesn't.
that
One
was
doesn't
it.
help. There's not enough for the number of
You're right
accidents
about that.
and the people that are killed
Yeah,
every day. So I'm sorry.
you're right.
And I honestly, that's why I'm saying that's my number one priority, making sure our communities are safe. That's simple. And in working with the state, the state usually, they have a formula where they give more money to create roads, okay, which, they should give more money to make sure that the roads that we already have are actually redesigned for safety. When Connecticut Avenue, University Boulevard, Georgia Avenue were built many, many years ago before I was born in the 80s, they were thinking again, moving cars really fast from A to B. They weren't thinking, oh, people are actually going to live here and there's going to be a street mall here. There's going to be, H Mart or whatever other store is there. So now we need to make sure that they understand that the state has a responsibility to ensure that citizens, people who live here, are safe. So that's my number one. That's simple.
Are there any more questions?
Rosamond, do you have a question?
Sure, Donna.
Yeah, I have a question. And it may not relate to you directly, but you may know how to handle this. I drive Wayne Avenue a lot because there's a senior that I pick up in that area and take for her medical appointments. And Wayne Avenue is so bad that is every other rotation of the tire, you've got a bump. Who is responsible now that they've finished a good portion of the purple line there? Who is responsible for fixing those roads? Because they're almost finished on that side. And I can just see it staying like that for the next 3 or 4 or 10 years. Who is responsible for fixing after that?
If it's an issue that involved the purple line, then the state has responsibility. Wayne Avenue is a county road. But if it had to do with the purple line construction, then the state have a lot to do with it. I'm gonna put in the chat my email. So if you can please send me an email with with information, I'll look into it to give you the right answer and to see the status of that.
Thank you.
I'm gonna put it right now.
Well, I think we're almost out of time, but we certainly do
I have
thank
one
you. It's been
question,
very
Rosie.
informative.
I
Oh, sorry,
have a
Annie.
question
I'm
and I've
sorry,
been
Annie.
trying to.
Sorry, pardon me, Annie.
Yeah, well, I'm interested. The pandemic has exacerbated what has been an ongoing problem, and that is the response to mental illness. I'd like your thoughts on what you think the approach should be, because it's very unwieldy. It cuts across a lot of institutions, whether it's school, it's housing, it's all of those things. But I think it's a real issue that has been exacerbated by the pandemic.
I agree with you 100%, and that's why I was making the comment earlier about the girls in Creighton for Greater Washington, the teen girls. It breaks my heart, the level of stress. I mean, imagine 12-year-old, 13-year-old kids wanting to kill themselves because they don't have hope. That's how bad it is. They don't have hope. I've been trying to get several of them volunteering in my campaign, not because of my campaign, but to have them see other things. So the other day I have 5 girls picking up trash with me in one of the parks and having a discussion and talking to them. And they told me they don't have anybody to talk to. So it broke my heart. And so money for mental health services, to have them in the schools is key, but not just the teen girls. I mean, or the students, the parents too.
Yes.
Their parents too. It's everybody. Access to doctors, access to jobs. A lot of these girls, they live in poverty and they must have a job to support their family. So that stresses them out. So whenever I can to give them a stipend, I do. But that's why when I was saying economic opportunities to make sure that we have more jobs and helping people who live here to make their own money, to create their own businesses so they can support their family. It's all part of that equation and formula that we need to figure it out to ensure that this generation, it's sane to be able to succeed in life. But everybody here should be worried. I mean, the fact that we don't even have enough substitute teachers in the schools.
That's true.
All of you who are retired, I'm talking to all of you. Whoever here is retired, you better go back to the school system and apply for a job. We need you. Honestly, whatever skill you have, we need you now more than ever. So I even told my husband is an electrical engineer. He's a former Marine too. And I told him, whatever free time you have, you gotta go and get a job in the school system and at least as a sub, because the need is huge. So we're all in this together. So Rosie, do you have more questions? I don't want to go over. I have a PTA meeting at 6:30.
Okay, well, thank you so much. You were wonderful.
No, thank you. And visit my website, natalieforcouncil.com. If you can contribute, I'm in the public finance system. If you can contribute $10, please do. Every dollar counts.
That information is in the chat.
Oh, cool.
And I can send it out again if anybody else needs it. So, okay, thank you so much. We really appreciated it.
Thank you.
Both of you.
Okay, I'm gonna log off. Bye.
Bye. Okay, so Ellen, you want